across in Ware County. That's really been just about it in our viewing area so far for northeast Florida and southeast Georgia, but there are warnings that abound here. If you're headed north, again, for our radio listeners, north on I-95, once you get to the Florida-Georgia border, you'll see the dark clouds to the west, and you won't get too far into Camden County, and the storms will be moving in, and that's certainly true all the way up to the Brunswick exit. West on I-10, you would run into the storms once you're into about Columbia County. Approaching Lake City is when you'd be in those storms. Moving to the northeast, that individual cell northeast at 45 miles per hour, while the entire line shifts eastbound much more slowly at about 20 to 25 miles per hour. The expectation again is for a general weakening trend over the next couple of hours, but it's been slow for that to occur so far, and so we remain vigilant as these storms move eastbound pretty quickly. Do we have some of our sky cams available? The airport would be looking west. Riverside would be a good one to be pointing to the west. We can kind of show you what we have going on here. Again, we'll stay on air as long as there's a tornado warning in effect, and at the moment we still do have one for parts of Baker County. Here's the International Airport looking toward the west. Not really much to see here. It's clouded over during the last hour or two, but the storms would be off in the distant west here, and pretty hard to see much definition there with the gray and the dark clouds. We're looking at, looks like a sheer, this is pretty good, looking west. This is Fernandina Beach now, First Alert Skycam Network, and here the storms are a little closer to Nassau County, and so you're seeing some of the dark clouds there, although the winds don't look to be particularly strong at this point in Fernandina Beach. Looks like is that a shear marker, you guys, that we have on First Alert Doppler HD?
That's hail.
That's hail. All right, so we're going to switch now back to the weather computer and see this little hail core that has formed with the storms that are moving through southeastern portions of Georgia. It's where this purple shading is. It's not likely to be very large. It's indicated to be about ½ inch in diameter. I would think that would be on the high end, but what it is an indication, though, of at least a very intense thunderstorm here. And this is the area that is under the severe thunderstorm warning in Camden County, Georgia. Woodbine extending east to I-95 all the way to Brunswick, or near Brunswick and Jekyll Island, south to St. Mary's, and that hail core is intensified even a little bit more in the last minute with an update. Here's Highway 252, and Highway 252 cuts right across that hail core, and then you're to Highway 301, although in Georgia, the Highway 301, anybody along Highway 301 and west is okay now. That would include obviously also Waycross and Blackshear. You are out of this severe weather threat. We're tracking the hail core now into Clark's Bluff at 1:57 in about 4 minutes. Woodbine at about 2:05, Billyville at 2:09, Forest View at 2:17, and Dover Bluff at about 2:23. That would be the most intense portion of the storm that also likely contains a decent amount of wind. Let's go ahead and put the wind on here. There's the rain. This is where it is raining now, and we're seeing that sharp edge there. Looks like we may be trying to get another circulation going there just to the north of Highway 252 or so. But right along this leading edge where you see all this color is the gust front. That's where we'd see the strong winds. Let's widen that out a little bit. We've got some kind of attempt at circulation there. It'd be pretty weak if so. It looks like over northwestern parts moving from Charlton into Camden County. That could be leftovers from when there was a tornado warning in effect in the last half hour or so. But it certainly would it would jive with the area where we're seeing this most intense part of this line now as it does move to the east into the northeast. And then we head to cross the Florida-Georgia border into north central portions of Florida. This is where we have the tornado warning in effect for this one storm that's out ahead of the main line. Those are the kinds of storms we have to carefully track, and certainly can see some color in there. This is headed to the northeast at 45 miles per hour, so let's track this circulation, and then we'll put the winds on here. But as this moves northeast at 45 miles per hour, it's in a highly rural area of western Baker County, so that'll put it into Taylor at about 2:07, Baxter at about 2:15, and if not tornadic, then the potential for damaging winds, certainly some very heavy rain. Let's put the wind on here and see if we still have a circulation. When this tornado warning was issued, it was pretty strong, that circulation, and it still is pretty holding together pretty well here, unfortunately, over western parts of Baker County. Right in there, we see the two bright colors, the red and the green together. That's the circulation. It's rotating counterclockwise. And so heads up for Taylor and nearby areas. There's an update from the National Weather Service. That's why the red box is flashing there, and that's just an indication that the National Weather Service is updating the tornado warning. It remains in effect until 2:15 this afternoon for what is a radar indicated tornado. There's been no confirmation so far, but that's pretty strong circulation potentially here over Baker County. Corey?
Yeah, we also have potential severe thunderstorms, Mike, moving into Lake City right now. You see the big yellow box around the red box. That's the severe thunderstorm warning for Baker County, Columbia County, up into Charlton and Ware County. Then, of course, we have the tornado warning as embedded in there as well. And we have been watching very closely up in southeast Georgia as this thunderstorm is on approach to Woodbine. There's still a lot of lightning with this. And you see how defined the curve is right here. Mike mentioned this just within about the last 5 minutes or so. All indications are the tornado threat is weakening, but this is still showing some signs that it may not be done, at least trying to go tornadic here. So there is a lot of lightning here east of Highway 301. There is lightning over Woodbine as well, out ahead of the main line of rain. And that's at least an indication that this storm is not going to weaken, at least in terms of heavy rain and the potential for severe weather. So this is on approach to I-95 very soon. Brunswick, you're not technically in the severe thunderstorm warning. You're still going to get storms, and they may even be severe. St. Simon's Island, same thing. Jekyll Island, you're included in this severe thunderstorm warning, and the rain and thunder and lightning are going to pick up here within about the next half hour to hour. The rain is lightening up a little bit in Nahunta and over toward Waycross. Trevor and I, within the last hour, have been tracking very closely as we have had tornado warnings up in southeast Georgia, and the damage report up in Ware County from earlier. We were on TV telling you all about it. Now this line of storms is rolling through southeast Georgia and into more of northeast Florida. Trevor?
Yeah, Corey, I just want to give a quick update as well. We were talking about that tornado watch earlier today and saying it expired at 2 o'clock, but that has been extended to 4 o'clock this afternoon, so just 2 more hours. But the areas of that tornado watch have not changed, so it does still include southeastern Georgia here, northeastern Florida as well along I-10, including Lake City, up towards the Nassau County area, so that also includes Amelia Island, Fernandina Beach. Does not include Duval County, but that doesn't really matter. We are still seeing these lines of showers and storms advancing quickly off to the east, so you need to continue remaining weather aware over the course of the next few hours as we track these showers and storms moving through. And an update on that tornado warning. Corey, do we have an update on that still?
As of now, Trevor, Jacksonville continues the tornado warning. This was just about 2 minutes ago. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 9 miles north of Olustee, or 16 miles northeast of Lake City. It's moving away from Lake City. Lake City, you're not in a tornado warning. That's just one of the closest communities to this potentially tornadic storm. And the storm moving northeast to 25, according to the Weather Service. I think it's a little faster than that. Severe thunderstorm warnings continue. Parts of northeast Florida and then parts of southeast Georgia as well, Mike, with a little bit of an overview.
And Trevor mentioned that the tornado watch is in effect now. Here it is. It means conditions are favorable for severe weather, and the definition is anyone in and close to the watch area should stay on the alert, and Trevor mentioned that too. Just because it technically does not include Duval County or points south doesn't mean you won't necessarily have some severe weather threat this afternoon, so we'll keep a close eye on it. You certainly will get some rain, and that's good news. It's dry as it has been, but it's also making a mess of the highways and interstates. 104.5 WOKV continues to simulcast with us right now, and you notice in Duval County and Jacksonville, it is dry. There's not a drop of rain to be found. The thunderstorms are well off to the west and northwest, and given that the individual cells are moving quickly to the northeast, but the entire line is only slowly shifting east, it is taking a while to get all the way to the east coast. In addition, the system that's helping to spawn this band of storms is way to the north, up over the Great Lakes region. It's beginning to leave our area, and because of that, it has slowed this line of storms down, at least for right now. The more south you get, more north, it's still getting a pretty good push toward the east, but the more south you get to the Florida-Georgia border and into north-central Florida, it's taking its sweet time getting all the way to the coast. It should get kind of a little push east again late this afternoon and this evening as a little upper level disturbance moves on by. But these heavy storms are fast approaching Brunswick now at about 2:08, and we've been mentioning it in the last half hour. Brunswick's technically in between two severe thunderstorm warnings, but I'm a little leery of where that intense band of storms is over Camden County, and that it may very well get into Brunswick. So Brunswick should be prepared for the potential for damaging winds. We did talk to the Emergency Operations Center in Camden County. Our newsroom did. They're not reporting any damage so far. That would be Kingsland and St. Mary's and Woodbine, but they did report that the EOC was sheltering in a vault for a while that tornado warning was in effect. It's moving into Malcolm, St. Simon's Island area at 2:18, Kingsland at at 2:24 and Elliott's Bluff at about 2:33. At the very least, some very heavy rain and a lot of lightning and gusty winds and the potential for some damaging winds. Then those storms continue through Folkestone, where they break up just a tad bit and then become pretty significant again just southwest of Folkestone. Folkestone, you're in for probably a quick inch of rain here over the next half hour to 45 minutes, and then right down into Baker and Columbia County. These will be into Andrews at 2:01 about right now, Hilliard at 2:20. Into Kingsland at 2:28, St. Mary's at 2:51, and Fernandina Beach at about 3:05 with that potential for some severe weather. And then here's the storms just getting toward Lake City. And again, this part of the line is not advancing nearly as quickly toward the east as the northern portion of this line, but it's getting the job done as those individual cells move northeast and the whole line shifts eastbound. Here within that severe thunderstorm warning is where we have the tornado warning for Baker County in effect for about another 14 minutes or so. Looks like we just got an update on that from the National Weather Service, and I suspect that there's really no change to speak of, and I'm just getting it now on my
Confirmed tornado, Mike.
Okay, and I'm just getting that on my watch and my phone. Oh, so this is back into southeast Georgia.
This is a confirmed tornado, which we were talking about. This area of the storm over Woodbine in southeast Georgia still kind of has that notch. According to the National Weather Service, tornado warning being issued for Camden County for report of possible tornado west of Colesburg. Radar shows rotation aloft. A tornado is possible with this cell. Kind of conflicting information there. But the National Weather Service is at least saying this was confirmed near Woodbine.
So the point on that is they've got a spotter that's seen what appears to be a tornado. Radar may or may not necessarily agree, I think, is what we gather from that statement. So let's take a look here. And it is a broad rotation northwest of Woodbine, I would suspect, is what we're talking about, Corey and Trevor, right?
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Mike. I'm going to kind of switch back and forth here. On First Alert Doppler HD, we can look from the Jacksonville radar. We can look from the radar that's up in Valdosta at Moody Air Force Base as well. So I'm going to switch to Moody, and I'm still not really seeing anything that just screams out of me tornado. We have the confirmed tag from the National Weather Service, so we got to roll with that. But this is over Woodbine right now. We got a lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain. This thunderstorm has a history of producing very high wind and damaging wind, and now we have the tornado threat to go with this as well. The rain is basically over Woodbine right now. There's a lot of lightning there as well. So, Mike, actually, I'm going to track this here as it's moving to the east, close to about 40 miles per hour. Confirmed tornado from the National Weather Service as it tracks near Woodbine and over I-95. We're talking about I-95 in central Camden County. Folks, if you are headed northbound on I-95 from Jacksonville, even in Nassau County, if you are headed up into southeast Georgia, I'd say just take a break. We have an active tornado warning that is about to impact portions of I-95 near Woodbine. So this is a potentially dangerous situation. This is moving to the east. We're talking Jekyll Island down the road, even Cumberland Island as well. So let me get the timing on this. Officially, it's moving to the east. I have this timed at about 40 miles per hour. And so here are the arrival times. Woodbine, basically right now. Jekyll Island, 2:19. You don't have a lot of time to prepare for this. Jekyll Island, you are included in the tornado warning. Basically all of Jekyll Island but Driftwood Beach. You are in this tornado warning. There is Cabin Bluff at 2:24. This is also going to approach Cumberland Island, depending on the exact track. Given the precise movement of this, Mike, it's going to move a little north of due east, right?
Right, it appears to be the case. The individual cells are moving northeast while the whole line shifts eastbound. So it's an east-northeast movement, and does look like Woodbine is right in the area of some of the strongest winds right now. If you're traveling, and we do have 104.5 WOKV viewers here listening in right now, simulcasting on the radio, headed north on I-95 out of Jacksonville is a rough thing once you get to the Florida-Georgia border. Best advice would be just to delay your travel for a little while, let those storms get by. If you're headed west on Interstate 10, you get into those storms when you get closer to Lake City, and so you would travel roughly 40 to 50 miles, and then you'd have the storms. This is our First Alert Storm Analyst. We have 5-speed First Alert Doppler HD, we have our sky cams, and we have First Alert Storm Analyst, and this is what's being picked up very near Woodbine as a possible tornado right now. The wind on First Alert Storm Analyst, just like it is on 5-Speed First Alert Doppler HD, is not overly impressive when it comes to a circulation, although it does look like there's wind here. But we're not seeing, and this must be debris now, correct? Yes. Okay. So now we've switched to debris on the right-hand side. So that's still rain on the left-hand side, and that is extreme rainfall moving toward Woodbine right now. And we're talking a couple of inches per hour. And then you get to the debris indicator, and I'm really not seeing much from a debris standpoint. That looks a little messy to me. We all agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, agreed. I'm going to switch to Jacksonville here, Mike.
Okay.
We're currently looking from Moody and KVAX. Hopefully we get a bit of a clear image here.
Okay.
This looks... It looks more linear to me than tornadic.
Right. And what Corey's talking about when he says linear, it's stretched out like in a line. And that can be damaging and sometimes to the strength of a weak tornado, 60, 70 plus mile per hour winds. But we are not really seeing a tight circulation in here. And that's what Corey's referring to as it's being linear. It would appear to be a line of strong storms with strong and intense wind gusts. But we did have a spotter report a possible tornado not too far from Woodbine, and that's why the tornado warning is in effect for Camden County. And headed north on I-95 out of Jacksonville, you should delay travel for just a little while here. Let these storms move on by. Headed west on I-10, you run into the storms when you get to about Columbia County, as they have moved now north of Interstate 10, where there was a tornado warning in effect. Looks like that has now, we don't have the warnings on here. That may still be in effect. It was in effect till 2:15. There should be another 8 minutes. And then an intense line of storms moving right in on Lake City right now, Trevor.
Yeah, Mike, I want to circle back to that storm we were just talking about in southeastern Georgia near Woodbine. Of course, we've got the wind threat, we've got the rain and the lightning, but I also want to point out there is some hail being detected with this as well. Close to Woodbine, you see that hail contour here. That's the purple color with those diameters anywhere from about, say, 4/10 of an inch to up to 6 or 7/10 of an inch. So it's not incredibly large hail, and that might even be an overestimate, but there is definitely the potential for some medium to large size hail moving through Woodbine over the next couple of minutes as this storm progresses to the east, and then also along, say, 110 and 252 heading towards I-95. So if you can delay your travel in this part of Camden County as this storm moves east, definitely advise you do so, as we're going to see multiple hazards with this thunderstorm. Of course, the threat for that tornado that we've been talking about, strong wind gusts. With or without a tornado, there are going to be some strong winds, as this is under a severe thunderstorm warning too. Heavy rainfall, lightning, and then hail. So a multifaceted system here, guys, with these storms rolling through.
And we still do have the tornado warning for portions of Baker County. Let's go ahead and go north to south again and track these. By the way, there are individual cells, other individual cells starting to pop out ahead of this main line now, moving into parts of Columbia County and also developing over Marion County in Florida. We'll show you those in a minute. But here are the storms just getting ready to move into Brunswick. Woodbine getting hit pretty hard now, and crossing I-95 in Camden and Glynn County are some pretty intense thunderstorms, and that's why the tornado warning is in effect for Camden County. Behind that is a large area of rain with some heavy rain and lightning at times. This leading edge of the storms is headed into Hilliard at 2:11, Kingsland at 2:20, Kings Bay Base at 2:35, St. Mary's at 2:39, and Dungeness at about 2:50. Then we head southbound and get into the I-10 corridor and parts of Nassau, Baker, Columbia County. And we'll track this part of the line where we still have a small part of Baker County under a tornado warning and a much larger severe thunderstorm warning for a good part of Baker and Columbia County west of Jacksonville. These storms will head east-northeastbound into Lake City about right now. Kingsland at 2:31, so very near the Florida-Georgia border and very near I-95. McClenny at about 2:55, so now it's approaching Highway 301 in western Duval County by roughly 3 o'clock in the afternoon, give or take. Ocean Way, the zoo, northern parts of Jacksonville at about 3:36, and Fort Caroline, we get east of downtown as early as about 3:55 as these individual cells move to the northeast and the whole line gradually shifts eastbound. Then we drop even more to the south. There are the storms headed into Lake City, and you can see these little individual cells developing out ahead of the line, and that's what happened in Baker County to trigger that tornado warning. And we'll have to watch these that might try to develop some circulation before they get embedded within that line. And this leading edge of this part of the line is headed into Lake City now and over the next few minutes. Olustee at about 2:41 western Baker County, into Lake Butler in Union County at 3 o'clock straight up. McClenny again shows up at around 3:12, and Gainesville then at about 3:33. So travel west on I-10. Once you get west of Baker County, it's a very heavy rain right now. Southwest on Highway 301, there have been a few scattered showers, but the main band will still be at least 45 minutes away, if not longer, for most of the Highway 301 corridor. But there are those little cells that are popping popping out ahead of the main line now over parts of Bradford County into Clay County. They don't look very impressive right now, but we are seeing those cells develop, and as they move north-northeast, they could quickly become severe out ahead of that main line. It looks like we have a report of some damage here in southeastern Georgia, too. With more on that, we go to Trevor.
Yeah, Mike, so I want to show you that storm report here. You see that icon popping up near Woodbine. That's a report of some damage and also reports of a possible tornado near Highway 17 northbound approaching Woodbine, and that is in Camden County. And this is minutes away, if not seconds, honestly, from I-95. It might already be moving over I-95. The radar data kind of delayed by a minute or so, and this is quickly advancing to the east. So I-95 travel is about to become very hazardous across this part of Camden County. And again, we do have that threat for that tornado as we're seeing some of those strong winds, as well as that hail potential, guys. We've been tracking that, a lot of lightning as well, heavy rainfall, and this is going to continue to progress from west to east. And zooming it out, you can see here across, say, extreme southeastern Georgia and extreme northeastern Florida, about to move into parts of Nassau County, Hilliard as well, seeing some of that light rain on your doorstep. And lightning ahead of that storm in Woodbine, too, is often an indicator that we're going to continue to see this storm sustain itself, at least maintain its intensity over the next couple of minutes as this heads towards the coastline. We're still dry, Jacksonville, Duval County, but we are monitoring that line of showers and strong thunderstorms advancing quickly through the area. So if you're dry right now, your time is running out, where we're going to see that shower activity and storms move through over the next couple of hours, guys.
So Trevor, on that storm report, it wasn't specific as to what was damaged, correct?
No, that was not specified.
So it's a report of wind damage along with a possible tornado not too far from Woodbine, and that's where we have the tornado warning in effect right now. As Trevor mentioned, crossing I-95, very intense storms also moving into Brunswick right now. And notice that northern portion of that line, definitely more eastward movement and faster than the southern portion of this line once you get to about the Florida-Georgia border on down into northwestern portions of Florida. And the cell that triggered the tornado warning in Baker County has exited that tornado warning, but is still alone out there.
Expired.
Okay, so it has officially expired, Corey?
That tornado warning has expired, Mike, yes.
Okay.
And another note quickly from the National Weather Service, they're saying the tornado warning in southeast Georgia came out as a public report of a possible tornado. There's not a confirmed tornado with that.
Okay.
So this storm is still...
That's what we kind of wondered when we read that jargon that was...
Yes.
We thought maybe.
Yes, exactly. So the storm is still capable of producing a tornado in near Woodbine, southeast Georgia. And okay, it looks like we have a new tornado warning that has just been issued. And this is for Camden and Glenn County. So the same storm up in southeast Georgia. It looks like the warning box itself is right on top of the one that we have currently issued. So
goes till 2:30, I believe. Is that different at all, Corey? Is that what it was before?
Goes until 2:30. The previous one was 2:15.
That's
so
what
they
did.
They extended
Yeah,
the time
yeah,
of it.
yeah.
Okay, tornado warning. This includes Jekyll Island, Cumberland Island. This is the same storm we've been talking about for a while. Potential severe storms moving into Brunswick. Brunswick, you're not in a tornado warning. It gets right next to you, but you're not technically in it. There will still be heavy rain and lightning headed your way. No tornado warning for Baker County, Mike.
All right, Trevor's got on computer number 2 the wind field on here. And so let's switch computers real quick and we'll look at it. There it is. Possible circulation, and it's not very well defined, but moving toward I-95 over the next couple of minutes, probably sitting about on I-95. So for our 104.5 WOKV radio listeners that were simulcasting a little earlier, we were mentioning going north out of Jacksonville on I-95 is something to be aware of and careful as you head northward. Certainly very heavy rain and the potential for some high winds, not indicating a whole lot of circulation here. As Corey and Trevor mentioned recently, this is looking more like it's lined out, so it would be strong straight line winds potentially that would cause more of a problem. Having said that, these storms today have had a history of producing some severe weather and occasionally some damage. Would this be the shear? This is back to hail. All right, so here's the hail vector data, and right over Woodbine, some small to maybe medium-sized hail. Georgia Highway 25 and all the way to I-95 now. It's not overly large. Usually Doppler radar overestimates the size of the hail by just a little bit at least, but it's probably a bit either way of about a ½ inch in diameter. significant because sometimes tornadoes are preceded by hail, so something to keep in mind. And that is the one hail core that we have right now, and it is over southeastern portions of Georgia. You can see it corresponds just about perfectly with the heavy rain that's ongoing. Now we're looking at rain. This icon is where we had the report of some wind damage along Highway 17, very near Woodbine, and now headed northeastbound right to the coast. Jekyll Island, Brunswick, nearby spots are going to be impacted by this storm. Now, again, highly rural once you get east of I-95 to the intercoastal of Camden County until you get north to Jekyll Island, St. Simon's Island, and Brunswick, too, now in this main line of storms. And there continues to be a real uptick in the lightning here on the southern end of this part of the line, very near Woodbine in Camden County, which does correlate with where the tornado warning is currently in effect until 2:30 this afternoon. And there we're putting the movement on, moving eastbound, the individual cells northeast, but the whole line is moving toward the east. And it is moving pretty quickly, especially over southeastern portions of Georgia. As we drop southward then into northeast Florida, crossing the Florida-Georgia line, you can see we're fine on I-95 all the way to Duval County. Just west of Hilliard, some heavy rain in Nassau County. And we expand the view, and now there are no longer any warnings in effect over north central Florida, I don't believe. It looks like the severe thunderstorm warning would have expired, I believe. Am I correct on that, Corey and Trevor, or where are we on that one?
Let's check that out, Mike. There have been a lot of watches or warnings issued and canceled. It looks to me like the severe thunderstorm warnings are still in effect. They're just not on that map.
Not on the map. Okay. So still have a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Baker and Columbia County as this line of storms heads east-northeast. And there's still a lot of lightning, and there's likely to be some strong wind gusts at the very least, and possibly approaching 50 or 60 miles per hour. We widen the view just a little bit more, and here are these little tiny cells that have popped out ahead of the main line in Clay and Bradford County, a little bit either way of Highway 301. Just make them out a little bit there. There's not much to them. They'll be into western Duval County over the next half hour or so. They're moving quickly to the northeast, but it's these kinds of cells that are very small at first that we'll watch carefully for them to strengthen, like we saw for a while. They're moving from Columbia into Baker County with this cell that's now crossing the Florida-Georgia border. And there's the updated severe thunderstorm warning now in effect for western portions of Nassau, much of Baker, Union County, and still Columbia County too. Remember that southwest edge of that line, much slower to go eastbound than say it is over southeastern portions of Georgia. So the severe thunderstorm warning, I'm going to guess that's in effect till 2:45. What do we got? 3 o'clock?
2:45.
2:45. All right. So severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 2:45 west out of Jacksonville on I-10. And we still have a tornado warning for parts of Camden County. And until and unless the tornado warnings have expired or been canceled, we will stay on the air wall to wall with your coverage to warn you about storms that may be dangerous. Once the tornado warning is dropped, we'll go back to regular programming and break in as necessary for any severe weather coverage. Pretty decent line now, setting up, moving through Lake City. Corey is tracking it. It's into Hilliard at 2:31, McClenny at 2:55, Stark at 3:16, downtown Jacksonville potentially a little bit after 3:30 in the afternoon, though again we'll have to carefully track that south end. Doesn't seem to be getting this much of an eastward push. Fruit Cove at about 3:51 in St. Johns County. Now we're also in many places, not all, but many places back to school today. So after the big, nice long holiday break, right? So schools are letting out right now in many cases, or will be soon. And so you can travel, you can get around, but just realize you've got some very heavy rain. Now Duval County, you still have a ways to go before you're into the most intense storms, but parents should be aware that it may be slow go, and there may even be a delay in dismissals depending on the timing of the storms and where it is with where you live. Here's the storm that's moved across I-95 now from Woodbine, where we had some wind damage, and it looks like we have a hail report now, Corey, too.
Yes, this is from Woodbine. Camden County Emergency Manager reporting hail of pea size. So that is a 1/4 inch. Pea to dime size hail reported by emergency management. That is 2 northwest of Woodbine. So we have the damaging wind report from earlier this afternoon. Dixie Union, is that correct?
And some tree damage, yeah.
Now we have the hail report as well.
Yeah, and there it is. And that correlated really well with radar. Remember, we thought it was probably overestimated a little bit, and it was. Generally less than a 1/2 inch in diameter, at least so far. But at least some hail occurring with that storm as it moved through Woodbine, and is now continuing east-north to eastbound. And where you see the red area, that box over northern Camden County, North of Kingsland, north of St. Mary's right now is where we have the tornado warning that is in effect. And this is a highly rural area. Once you get east of I-95, there are some beautiful spots here, intercoastal for fishing, campgrounds, but not very many communities. But there are some subdivisions, and so we want to heads up here east of from I-95 eastward to the intercoastal of Camden County. Looks like the most intense part of this particular line has moved across I-95 and has moved east of Woodbine. It doesn't mean you're not getting rain anymore, but it does mean that the most severe part of the cell that could be producing damage is now primarily east of Interstate 95 in our southeastern Georgia area. And then the line continues right down through Lake City, Corey, as it continues to move east-northeastbound.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. And as we move into northeast Florida, we have more of a severe wind threat. Doesn't mean we won't have a tornado threat, but as of this current moment, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for the northeast Florida part of the line from Lake City over through Union County. It does not include Stark, but it does include McClenny, southern Ware County, extreme western Nassau County is included too. We also have the First Alert traffic camera network. This is in Lake City. This is Interstate 10, and the roadways are wet. You can see the semis that are going both ways there. Basically the spray of the water of the cars going either side. This is mile marker 298 there on Interstate 10. So pretty cool view here. Thanks to my director Kim for pulling this up. As there is heavy rain. The potential is there for inclement travel weather. This is going to move into Jacksonville, folks. So the commute later this afternoon may get a little bit rough. It is going to be wet. We may see the rain move out in time for the actual evening commute itself, but there will still be some wet roads around, and you got to watch out for that. We have one active tornado warning that is in Camden County, and it includes just a sliver of Glenn County, basically Jekyll Island. Brunswick is not in that tornado warning, but you still have heavy rain and lightning over you in Brunswick. The rain is about to come to an end in Waycross. We're seeing the back edge of the rain here. It still has a northeasterly movement to it. It's moving east and it's moving a little to the north too. So there will still be some light showers that move over Waycross over the next hour or so. But the back edge of the rain is there. We're seeing the front edge of the rain over Lake City right now, and it will be approaching spots like McClenny, like Hilliard and Callahan. It's moved into Woodbine, so it's pushing toward the coast of southeast Georgia. And then eventually the Jacksonville Metro. Trevor?
Yeah, Corey, I'm going to time that out and track that across northeastern Florida and far southern and southeastern Georgia. Of course, we're monitoring this all throughout the afternoon hours. We're fairly dry right now in many spots across the metro area. We're completely dry actually, but that's going to change as we see the leading edge of this line now through Lake City. That's bringing some heavy rain and gusty winds to your area pretty soon. Lake Butler at 252, McClenny down I-10 looking at 257, the Zoo around 330, and then Jacksonville holding together just after 330 in between 330 and 4 o'clock. So do consider that if you have plans to hit the roads, either get out there now, get to your destination first, or wait and hold off until the leading edge of these lines, which does contain the strongest wind, the heaviest of rain, passes through. And you'll notice there is still plenty of rain behind it, so we do expect the roads to be wet for sure by the commute, but it looks like the most intense of that rainfall and the strongest of those storms hopefully will arrive in Metro Jacksonville before that big rush home, but still expect plenty of heavy rainfall, lightning. That's why we've got that severe thunderstorm warning in effect, those strong wind gusts as well, and that potential, there's that tornado watch in effect, so that potential for one or two of these to briefly spin up into a brief tornado. Send it over to Mike.
Yeah, and that's why we are still on the air right now, is because of a tornado warning that'll be in effect for about another 6 minutes, moving through parts of Camden County in Georgia. Here's the wide view of what's causing this severe weather. It's low pressure very near Chicago. It's produced ice and snow on its cold side in the last couple of days, and on its warm side, it's been flooding and severe weather, and that's what's getting to us now. We, of course, are on the warm side of the storm, not at all uncommon during the winter months, and the winds are starting to become more out of the southwest with time, and that means that our biggest concern is transitioning to potentially damaging winds with severe thunderstorms versus tornadoes. It doesn't mean that you couldn't get a tornado, but it's becoming more of a severe weather situation with strong straight line winds versus tornadoes. But we still may get little cells out ahead of the main line like we're seeing moving into Charlton County right now from Baker County that could briefly cause a small to weak tornado. And this is the part of the storm that is has caused the tornado warning to be issued in Camden County is now just south of Brunswick and a little south and southwest of St. Simons Island, Jekyll Island, very near Jekyll Island, Cumberland Island, and moving to the east and toward the northeast. So let's go ahead and time and zoom in a little bit on this tornado warning and see where it's headed and what we have going on exactly. There's the part of the storm that may be tornadic. We don't have confirmation of a tornado. And this is, again, primarily a rural area, but it'll head east-northeast bound. Let's go ahead and time it out for you. See what pops in here. And I'm going to tell you probably not much. And there's Fairview Church neighborhood right now. Dover Bluff at about 227. Some beautiful campgrounds in that area. Summer Waves Water Park. So you're talking now St. Simons Island, Jekyll Island, not too far away from those areas at about 236. The wind on here is not overly impressive. Again, from a circulation standpoint, from a tornado standpoint, it would appear to be primarily a straight line of winds. But there's a weak, probably more than likely mid-level circulation there on I-95 to the east of I-95 in Camden County. And this is well to the north of Jacksonville. And then we drop southward from here and widen the view a little bit. There's the heavy rain getting into Hilliard now, and the lightning just a little west, pouring in Folkestone. Good downpour here. And then this extends all the way across the Florida-Georgia border. But notice Jacksonville again remains largely free of any rain at all. There are some showers approaching from the south and southwest that won't amount to a whole lot, at least initially. We'll track them, but they're moving quickly to the northeast and not producing much of anything as far as lightning or heavy rain. And then we get into the part of the storm that's strongest, southern Charlton County into Columbia County near Lake City, and headed eastbound into Kingsland at 2:39, so in about 13 minutes. St. George on the Florida-Georgia border at about 2:45. St. Mary's at 2:58. McClenny at 3:08. And then Baldwin, western Duval County at about 3:23. The Highway 301 corridor will be next in line between now and, say, 3:30 to 3:45. And then the I-95 corridor from about 3:30 to 4:30 plus or minus. And here are those few little cells that are popping out ahead of it. And so you will get a quick shower in parts of Duval and Clay County, southeastern Baker County before the main line gets here. There's one there coming up out of Marion County into Putnam County. There you can see that we'll watch carefully for any rotation that might try to develop. Notice the lightning is not near as prevalent once you get south, a decent ways southwest of Lake City into the Big Bend. All indications are that this will gradually be a weakening band of storms, especially by the time it gets to I-95 and Jacksonville, despite it holding together pretty nicely for a good part of the day so far. But that big disturbance is lifting out to the north, and the atmosphere is becoming a little less favorable for severe weather in general. Even having said that, though, we still have severe thunderstorm warnings for parts of Nassau, Baker, Columbia, and Union County in Florida, and we still have a small tornado warning in effect for a portion of northern and northeastern Camden County just to the south of Brunswick. Trevor?
Yeah, Mike, and that tornado warning in southeastern Georgia really only has about 2 more minutes, and then we're expecting that to expire as it pushes off the coast. But definitely a lot of inclement weather within this warning, with heavy rainfall, lightning, and gusty winds as well. On 5-Speed First Alert Doppler HD, you can see the heaviest of rain has now passed I-95, but it is still wet out there on the road, so please use extra caution driving there. And the heaviest has also shifted now well to the east of Woodbine, and this is heading towards the coast near Jekyll Island. Still seeing that hail indicator as we're looking at some of that medium-sized hail. We have seen reports of pea to dime-sized hail, and the radar detecting some golf ball-sized hail aloft, but that's likely melting a little bit, becoming a little bit smaller once it hits the ground, but still that potential of hail. And again, not many people living out here, so that is good news. And one more look at the velocity with this storm, and you can see that somewhat ill-defined couplet. It's there, but it's not incredibly intense, and we've definitely seen some more intense circulations earlier this afternoon, some tighter couplets, but still strong winds. That's pushing offshore, and we should get an update very soon, guys, on if this is going to update, which I think it will, or it'd be canceled at 2:30 as it is.
Just gotten it, Trevor. Maybe,
yeah, and I see the severe thunderstorm in there too.
Just gotten it here. Update, Corey, go ahead.
Severe thunderstorm warning issued for Camden and Glenn County. So this is the same complex or area of storms that we have been watching and tracking with this tornado warning. The tornado warning hasn't expired or canceled, but we have a new warning that has been issued with this storm. Kind of makes me think the National Weather Service is not expecting this to go tornadic over about the next 15 more minutes. Regardless, the storm is severe as it's moving over Jekyll Island. There it is. The tornado warning is expired.
Okay.
That is for Camden and Glenn County. Okay, the tornado watch has been extended. Let me pull that up really quick.
For much of Northeast Florida.
And then we can kind of refresh and then get out of here. Okay, we're waiting for this map to update, but according to the National Weather Service, the tornado watch has been extended for Bradford, Clay, Duval, and Union County.
Until 4 this afternoon?
Until 4. Let me check that time. Until 4 o'clock this afternoon. The tornado watch has been canceled for Pierce and Ware County. So we're going to start trimming off the counties here where the severe weather threat and tornado threat is 0. And we are adding counties here. So we're adding Union, Clay, Duval, and Bradford until 4 p.m. The map has not updated here in the First Alert Weather Center. It will, I'm sure, soon. But, Mike, as of now, no active tornado warnings.
Right, which means we're going to go back to regular programming here in just a minute. Keep in mind, a watch means conditions are favorable for severe weather, and that's why it's been extended to Jacksonville and Clay County, and extending to Bradford, Union County. Baker County was already in it, so was Nassau County until 4 o'clock this afternoon. But since the tornado warning has expired, we still do, though, have severe thunderstorm warnings for parts of Camden and Glynn County in Georgia, parts of Baker, Columbia, and Union County in Florida. We'll continue, obviously, to update you round the clock, and we'll break in immediately when and if additional tornado warnings are issued. Warning means you need to take action. A watch means, again, conditions are favorable, and carefully monitoring these storms coming out of Marion into Putnam County to the south of Jacksonville that might try to quickly go severe. Remember, you can always stay up to date. The latest watches and warnings online, actionnewsjax.com, our Twitter feeds, Facebook fan page, and also download for free our First Alert Weather app and on the radio, 104.5 WOKV. But until the next warning, or beginning at 4 p.m. with our usual afternoon weather and latest news for Trevor Gibbs and Corey Sima, I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish.
From Action News Jax, this has been a First Alert Weather Update.